Hello, welcome to your Week 13 preview. It's our final week before playoffs. Trade deadline is over, and it's time to come down to who's in and who's out. Notice the lovely Christmas decorations behind me. Let's get to the playoff picture first before we get to the matchups. You have ARG, Slaughterhouse, who are both in, but they could be vying for the Black Conference Championship this week. ARG would need to lose, Slaughterhouse would need to win, and Slaughterhouse would need to outscore the ARG by 75 points, so seems unlikely. 74 points, something like that. I'll be surprised. It's looking pretty good for ARG, but anything can happen. Also in due to large amount of points is Flying Spaghetti Monsters. Even if they lose, the teams that they would be up against would have a lot of ground to make up in terms of points. So they're pretty much in unless somebody outscores them by like 200. Who knows? On the outside looking in, you got Fat Morte locked up with the first pick next year. Steelers and Robert Downey Jr., although Steelers are at 5-7 along with Robert Downey Jr., and it doesn't look like they're that far out of it. They are, just because of how far behind they are in points as well. It's like the opposite of Flying Spaghetti Monsters. There's just no way for them to catch up unless they outscore people by 200 points, which would be surprising. So that leaves us with 4 teams vying for 2 positions. As you know, we have the play-in game next week and then get down to the Final Four after that. We'll go from least likely to most likely to make it, starting off with the Raging Hartons. To make it into the playoffs, they need to win, they need Snarl and No Bad Juju to lose, and have to stay within 31 points of whatever Snarl puts up. I don't like the odds of that happening, as we'll get to the previews. I would be pretty surprised if Snarl and No Bad Juju lost, but the only thing that helps them is that they are playing No Bad Juju, so if they win, No Bad Juju automatically loses. Then they would just need Snarl to also lose and to score at least 31 points less than Snarl. If they do that, then they're in. For No Bad Juju, they can't lose because they don't have enough points to deal with the records of everybody else, so they need a win along with either a Snarl loss or a Resting Bitchface loss, while also outscoring Resting Bitchface by at least 63 points. Not impossible, but far from easy. The easiest way for them to get in is to win and have the Snarl lose. That's by far their best chance at getting into the playoffs. Next up, we have Snarl. If they win, they're in. Easy as that. The hard way for them to get in would be if Resting Bitchface happens to also lose and they win, Snarl would grab the Gold Conference Championship, as predicted in the comments. We'll see if he can go from 5th to 1st in 6 weeks. The hard way to get into the playoffs, though, involves them, if they lose, then they would need a loss by No Bad Juju while simultaneously outscoring the Raging Hartons by 32 points. So that's definitely doable, but as always, you just want to win. Just win, baby. If you win, then you're in. Easy as that. And lastly, we have Resting Bitchface, who would need a lot to go wrong to miss the playoffs, but it's not that crazy and could definitely happen. If they win, they're in, just like Snarl. But if they lose and Snarl wins and No Bad Juju wins and No Bad Juju outscores them by 63, then they're out. So their only path out is pretty much No Bad Juju's only path in. So it's looking pretty good for Snarl, and then No Bad Juju and Resting Bitchface, I think, are the interchangeable 5th team. But I definitely have to give it to Resting Bitchface as the odds-on favorite there. So let's get to our previews this week and see how it looks like the playoffs will shake out. First up, we have Resting Bitchface going up against the Flying Spaghetti Monsters. Saquon Barkley is unbelievably just putting up points every week. However, Kerryon Johnson looks questionable to play. Actually, I don't think he's going to play. He's been dealing with a knee strain. He's a little more than questionable. He's probably not going to play. AJ Green looks likely to play, and Tyrell Williams is also questionable. These little injuries definitely make a difference as it makes them reach deeper into their lineup, and they don't have a lot of depth there. The options behind them aren't great. Flying Spaghetti Monsters, on the other hand, are full force and getting hot at just the right time. Marlon Mack's starting, Dalvin Cook's healthy. James Conner isn't as hot as he was, but he's doing just fine. Amari Cooper's the feature of the Dallas offense playing tonight. Couple that along with DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, the best defense in the league, I'm pretty sure, in the Chicago Bears. I don't like resting Bitchface's chances. It looks like they're not going to get the win this week, so they're going to need some help if they don't. The next matchup is Fat Morte versus Slaughterhouse. I could go through the injuries and how bad Fat Morte's team looks. They have Rashad Penny in the starting lineup, and every week I check to make sure they're putting in their best lineup, and somehow Rashad Penny is in their best lineup. That's a good future pick, but good Lord, that looks bad this week. Cooper Kupp being on IR is definitely noticeable for the Fat Morte. Slaughterhouse, although they don't need a win this week, they would like to get a win and try and get the Black Conference Championship. Although they do have Carlos Hyde to back up, he's definitely no Leonard Fournette, which will be a little noticeable. Leonard Fournette, the undefeated champion of the heavyweight NFL division. Why you need to punch people when they're wearing helmets, I'll never understand it. I get if you take their helmet off, kind of like Andre Johnson tried to, but if you're just hitting somebody in the helmet, that's just dumb. That's just not smart. So Slaughterhouse, I think, will definitely take the win here, putting the pressure on ARG to lock up the Black Conference Championship with a win. Speaking of ARG, they got no one missing this week, and they look really good shape to lock it up. Kirk Cousins, they got the Gus Edwards just coming off hot. On the contrary, Robert Downey Jr., their opponent, had Kenneth Dixon, I think, who is now not getting as many snaps because of the emergence of Gus Edwards. Couple that with the receiving core of Odell Beckham, Tyreek Hill, Emmanuel Sanders, who finally put up a good game last week after going cold for 3. And Kareem Hunt, as usual, can just explode for a ton of points. ARG pretty convincingly looks to win this one, although Robert Downey Jr. has big potential guys in Aaron Rodgers, Keenan Allen, and I mean, Deshaun Jackson is not looking healthy. Jack Doyle's on IR, but he'll have Kelsey in a tight end, which is a lot of points. I don't see anything could happen. I don't see Robert Downey Jr. winning this week, which would give ARG the Black Conference Championship. Next up, Steelers versus Snarl. Again, Steelers are pretty much, there's just no way they'll make the playoffs, so they're just trying to play spoiler to the Snarl. AP questionable this week definitely hurts them as they're a little thin at running back. They got Nick Chubb, but there's not a lot behind him as Dion Lewis will be their second running back up, and they'll have to reach for a third. Also, they got Ben Watson streaming, which isn't bad, but isn't good either. I mean, that's kind of a boom bust. You're hoping for a touchdown there. Their team, top to bottom, isn't exciting. They could always put up a ton of points, though, between Adam Thielen and Antonio Brown. If Antonio Brown has a big day and Ben Roethlisberger has a big day, that's their path to victory, as usual, right there is Big Ben to AB. They would need a lot, though, because they'll be going up against a tough Snarl team coming together at the right time. Todd Gurley back from the bye. Russell Wilson putting up some points this year, and Austin Eckler getting a lot of points with the injury to Melvin Gordon. Christian McCaffrey coming off an unbelievable week, about 50 points, I think, last week. It was crazy. And T.Y. Hilton, although looking questionable, looks likely to play. And the other big injury besides T.Y. Hilton would be across the other side of the field. Jalen Ramsey is questionable to play this week and might not play. If he's not able to suit up, that would be a big boost to Hilton's value this week. And Chris Herndon, he's a streamer. We'll see what happens. It's no worse than Ben Watson. They're pretty even at tight end. I like Snarl. So Snarl and with my prediction of Resting Bitchface losing and Snarl winning, I got Snarl winning the Black Conference. I think his prediction's right. We'll have to see if Resting Bitchface happens to get outscored by No Bad Juju by how many points was it? 63 points. That'll be the really exciting part, I think, this week, as No Bad Juju's going up against Raging Hartons. That won't be an easy win either. They got Ezekiel Elliott and Alvin Kamara, as usual, with Devontae Adams, Robert Woods. Those are all big players. Phillip Rivers. Although they do have Andrew Luck going up against Jacksonville, which I don't love. Again, if Jalen Ramsey is out, that's big. That's big news for them. The wide receivers are all pretty much boom bust besides Juju Smith-Schuster, and look for a big week from Ebron. Even though he's going against Jacksonville, I think he's talented enough. And Jack Doyle's on IR again, so with Jack Doyle out, Ebron was super hot this year. I think he'll put up at least a touchdown and probably 50 yards, which will be a solid day. He could easily put up more. No Bad Juju, like I said, he has the boom bust receivers with Josh Gordon, DJ Moore, Kenny Galladay. If those guys explode for points, that's his ticket in. He needs a big wide receiver day to get past the Raging Hartons and outscore Resting Bitchface dealing with some injury problems. I think he'll come up short. I think Resting Bitchface will limp into the playoffs with a loss. It'll be really close and exciting to watch, though. So good luck to everybody. Looking forward to seeing the rest of you in the playoffs. I'll talk to you later. Have a good night. Enjoy your Thursday night football.